The Australian government has issued travel advisory to its citizens, urging them to reconsider taking a trip to Nigeria. Now, in a statement obtained on Tuesday, the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade cited what it termed as volatile security environment marked by terrorism, kidnapping, and the potential outbreak of civil unrest as reasons for the advice. Now, the advisory identified potential targets to include places where crowds gather, such as hotels, bars, restaurants, political meetings, government buildings, places of worship, schools, markets, shopping malls, sporting events, transport hubs and networks, law enforcement facilities, international organizations, and camps for displaced people. Now, the caution comes amid recent data from Nigeria's National Bureau of Statistics, which reported 2,235,954 abductions between May 2023 and April 2024. Now, it is the last day of the year 2024 here in Nigeria, West Africa, where citizens are waiting to be ushered into the new year, 2025, but some other countries are already in the new year. Now, earlier, the island nation of Kiribati in Oceania was the first country in the world to enter 2025. Now, it followed a spectacular display in New Zealand from the Auckland Sky Tower. The final nations to welcome in the new year will be the uninhabited islands of Baker and Holland. According to the latest Ipsos polls, 7 in 10 Britons say that 2024 was a bad year for Britain. Now, however, 6 in 10 Britons are optimistic that 2025 will be better than 2024 for them personally. For News Central, Afia Hagen asked people in London if they were optimistic for 2025 after a rocky 2024 for Britain.
2024 has been quite a year here in the United Kingdom. The general election means we have a new Labour government, but they are still struggling to make their mark. So we took to the streets of London to find out people's hopes, dreams and aspirations as we cross over into 2025.
You know, the living crisis of the people, the tax cut from the pensioners, that's a bit worrying. safe place to stay for the people. And I'm hoping next year we can see a better light into, giving back, I would say, what belongs to the older people. It's a bit worrying.
I'm from Tanzania original. I work with the farmer in Tanzania. And it was nice here to learn more and more customer learning about my food because I'm growing natural seed and no chemical, organic, and I'm going back to Tanzania by myself. I'm going to leave my son here. So I hope I'll do much better to help Tanzania people and the British people to eat better food.
More self-peace, a lot of self-peace, and self-peace for myself and my daughter.
Beyond individual goals, violence in the capital and global turmoil remain significant concerns as citizens contemplate what lies ahead in 2025.
I'd like to see, political change. There's just been so many almost hands kind of crossed over and, such movement in the world, wars happening and also threats of wars. I think I'd like to see an end to that, peace, some sort of stability.
All we have to do now in this coming 2025 is to look after the children properly, to enable them know the consequences of the crime, as they are growing up now, because we as parents, we've done what it takes to get to this level and to this category, So we just have to look after them, to let them know, to separate them from the gangs that rampant here in London, as London is one of the most difficult and dangerous cities. It's nice anyway, based on how you look after your children.
From the cost of living crisis to wars across the world to crime in London, people have a lot on their minds as we come to the end of 2024, and they're definitely hoping that 2025 will be a better year. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan in London.
Let's now cross over to our international correspondent, Afia Hagan in London, for more updates around the world on New Year's Eve. Afia, tell us, what has been some, big news stories in Australia this year?
Yes, well, Australia is one of those countries that has just crossed over into 2025. Like we said about New Zealand, they are living in the future. Now, a lot of people may think Australia didn't really have any significant headlines, but actually they really have this year. The WikiLeaks founder, Julian Assange, won a 14-year legal battle that meant he could be returned back to Australia. He is freed and now is living back in Australia under those conditions. Also, you had the stabbing that took place at the Wakely Church earlier on in the year. This was on the 15th of April. Now, this was a stabbing of Bishop Mary Emmanuel, and it happened during a live-streamed sermon. Now, that led to a dispute between the Australian government and the platform of X, owned by Elon Musk, because the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, said that content should be taken down, that it was offensive content. Elon Musk raised concerns about free speech and implied that it should be there. And now Australia now have new legislation which was introduced by the federal government, which means that it wants under 16s to be banned from social media. This happened in late November, and it's the world's first social media ban for children under the age of 16. And I'm sure what happened with that church live stream had something to do with that. You also had King Charles III's visit to Australia on his first overseas royal tour. And you also had Lydia Thorpe, that was the independent senator, who had that confrontation with King Charles during his visit to Canberra, where she declared that he wasn't her king, and also accused him of being involved in a genocide that had been committed against her people, which are the First Peoples of Australia. So some quite big news stories actually coming out of Australia in 2024. All right,
what about the UK? What is happening with the New Year preparations there?
Yes, well, the UK's New Year's preparations are not going as planned, to be very honest. We have what's been called some sort of superstorm, which is moving towards the United Kingdom and actually has started towards the north of the United Kingdom. And that means that the huge Hogmanay party, as it's called in Edinburgh in Scotland, has been cancelled. It's one of the biggest fireworks displays in the country, probably as big as the London one. And that has been cancelled. It was cancelled yesterday because of concerns around safety for people. Now, the storm is bringing rain, high winds, and snow, and it's moving south through the country. So, the north of the country at the moment, you have lots of rain, you have high winds, about 60 miles per hour, and they're moving south. So that other fireworks displays in Blackpool and Newcastle have been cancelled as well. Here in London, the New Year's Day parade, we've been told, is going ahead, and the fireworks are going ahead. However, councils are looking to see if those things will be cancelled as the hours go ahead. The wind is picking up, the rain is starting to fall as well, and New Year's Day has been forecast to be a washout. We have yellow weather warnings in place up and down the country, and those warnings tell us that there will be probably disruption to travel, so trains cancelled, and damage to property, and potentially could be dangerous for people traveling as well. So the New Year plan's not going as planned here in the United Kingdom. You know, usually those fireworks displays up and down the country, lots of them cancelled and lots of them under threat at the moment.
Well, can you go ahead and tell us, who is next to celebrate the New Year's? We've seen, some Pacific Island countries celebrating the New Year already, North Korea and Australia.
Yes, well, it's 2 o'clock, just after 2 o'clock here in the United Kingdom. So I'm using UK time. I think you guys just after 3 o'clock. So in the next hour, we do have Japan and then China in the next couple of hours celebrating New Year. Then Indonesia, Bangladesh around 6 p.m. UK time, and then Pakistan around 7 p.m. UK time. Azerbaijan around 8 p.m., then Greece and Israel 10 p.m. as well. Germany, France, and Spain, Switzerland, and Italy around 11 p.m. UK time. And then, of course, it is midnight. So the further west we go, then you'll have parts of Canada, Venezuela, and Puerto Rico. That will be around 4 p.m. UK time. Then Mexico at 6 a.m. Then the west coast of the United States, so California and all those states, around 8 a.m. UK time. Honolulu around 10 a.m. and then finishing off with Baker Island and Howland Island. They are the last places to celebrate New Year, a whole 12 hours after me here in the United Kingdom.
All right. Thank you so much, Afia, for that update.
Thank you.
Away from that, gunmen have killed 7 people in Ihiala local government area, Anambra State, in an attack that occurred on Monday. Now, among the victims were 2 unarmed civilians planning a burial and security operatives, including members of the Anambra State Vigilante Group. Now, the state police spokesperson, SP Tochukwu Ikenga, confirmed the incident, stating that the attack happened around 11:20 a.m. local time. Police Commissioner Nage Obono Itam visited the scene and ordered an immediate manhunt for the assailants. 1 victim was rescued and is receiving treatment. The Commissioner of Police expressed condolences to the families of the victims and assured that the perpetrators would be brought to justice. An Abuja High Court has ordered the immediate release of Bello Bodejo, president of the Miyetti Allah from Department of State Services custody. Justice Muhammad Zubairu ruled on Monday that Bodejo's detention since December 9 without being charged was unlawful. The ruling followed a habeas corpus application filed by Bodejo's lawyer, Ruben Atabo. The judge noted that the respondents, including the Attorney General of the Federation and the DSS Director General, failed to challenge the application. Justice Zubairu clarified that Bodejo's release is not an acquittal and instructed his lawyer to ensure his availability if charges are filed. The judge also warned against any further unconstitutional detention. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll talk about the reopening of the refinery by President Bola Tinubu and how he commended the NNPCL. Welcome back. Primary healthcare centers are fundamentally known for addressing the health needs of all patients at the community level. Now, healthcare services at the Badaelume Community Healthcare Center in Delta State has been suspended for more than 4 months following a labor dispute among the matron, health workers, and the community leaders who alleged that their quarters were boggled by suspected hoodlums, leading to the loss of their phones and personal belongings. News Central correspondent Austin Azu has more.
Health Center in Badaelume community in Sapele local government area of Delta State. This place ought to be bubbling with patients by now. However, you can see the place is under lock and key, and weeds almost overtaking these premises. What could be responsible for this particular dissection of this particular health facility that provide medical attention for the people of Badaelume community and neighboring communities?
I came home one day to hear that the nurses that work here, for which some of them are actually my members, that they have packed. They no longer work here, that whether thieves or burglars came here someday, whether in the night or so, and made away with all their phones. And for that reason, they have decided not to work again, that they are going to live until the community restore their phones.
According to when I hear that they require from the committee chairman to invite him to come in, so anything those outside they stay until they recover before any other thing. And those boys who do the thing, they don't know them because they wear masks inside face come here in the night.
Some nursing mothers expressed concerns about the challenges they encounter in accessing healthcare services outside their community and requested state government assistance to enable them access healthcare services quickly.
You know what, I can't go Exeter. When I reach Exeter, I don't see anybody. I can't go general. Nigerian I take drugs when I can't come.
I register for Exeter what to get Bello. But as the Bello they pay me, I register the not there. I can't go chemist.
Our whole community, they don't talk anything about the Exeter. If we know when our supply will they go. And private hospital for inside supply, now everybody they go. Everybody they find their own solution to treat ourselves.
While many community residents were disappointed by the health workers' decision to shut down the healthcare center, others also made an appeal to them to return to work and save lives.
So to my own opinion, it's very bad for the place because of stolen phone. How much is phone? Is phone compared to life?
So that health center, why they this Badaelume, it's a very nice health center to us for here, because if you get wife, when you get Bello, that way our wife now from there they reach or they go. They're not they pay free.
When they look so, most of the time pregnant women they come for delivering. They call now, they not go see anybody. Sometimes I call tell they say, because I stay near here, I call tell they say they look this way. So if you see they not go see anybody, they call go chemist, go deliver.
That place should be fenced around and put in a qualified security, maybe that way the government will equip with arms so that that place will be secure for the community, citizens, and those having illness to treat themselves very well.
The executive director of the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency stated that the state government would conduct an investigation into the events that transpired at the Badaelume Community Healthcare Center.
Also do community assessment, their problems, and resolve them. And then again, if at all it happened, I would rather say it was unfortunate. Sorry to the person who is aggrieved, and then they should please tarry for a while and give us useful information to work with. We'll be able to get and address the issue.
Residents of Badaelume and surrounding communities anticipate the return of health workers to their facility. In Delta for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
Away from that, President Bola Tinubu has expressed his profound joy at the reopening of the Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, describing it as another remarkable achievement in 2024 that has strengthened Nigerians' hope in his administration. The Warri Refinery returned to operation weeks after NNPC Limited restarted the 60,000 barrels per day at the Port Harcourt refining in November. Now, with Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company going into operation after several years of inactivity, President Tinubu has once again expressed his administration's determination to ramp up local refining capacity and make Nigeria a hub for downstream industrial activities in Africa. To discuss this, we're joined by oil and gas analyst George Brown. Good afternoon, George. Mr. George, thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year in advance.
Happy New Year to you as well in advance.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, Mr. Brown, out of the blues, Port Harcourt refinery, and now we're seeing that the Warri Refinery has also commenced operation. What are your thoughts?
After the drama that ensued after the NNPCL claimed that the Port Harcourt refinery was up and running, to this moment, we've not heard anything again about their claims of loading and PMS from that refinery. But that's by the way. I think we'll move beyond that. And now we have the Warri refinery also coming on stream. And they've come to let Nigerians know that what is being produced is AGO, which is diesel, and light and heavy substrates, and straight DPK, which is kerosene, but there's no PMS. I think it's a welcome development. It is a good step in the right direction. And it's not always that I think we should be lampooning the presidency and this administration for their mistakes. This is a welcome development. It's a good Christmas gift, or it's a good gift going into the new year, 2025. And we hope that it will not end like what we had in Port Harcourt. And I think there is a pertinent point that needs to be made here. And that fact is, for decades, all the refineries in the country went comatose. They were not functioning. And within these decades, there was this constant turnaround maintenance that was always going on. And whenever this maintenance exercise is about to be carried out, it becomes news. It becomes a news item. And all these years that those activities were going on in all the refineries, yet those refineries were not producing anything in those decades. It means people have to answer. People have to answer for where those resources, those monies that were spent went into. I think people need to answer. But again, the game changer is in the fact that we now have a Dangote refinery that has come on stream, and there is another refinery in those states that is producing, that is about to start producing PMS, but they're producing AGO, and there is another refinery somewhere in Imo State that's also producing AGO. With all this, it means that the country is departing from a net exporter of crude oil by ramping up production locally or domestically, so that we can begin to enjoy the benefits of refining the products from our own crude oil that we produce. So the NNPC...
Well, that's actually the bane there. We can begin to enjoy the benefits. Do you see it coming to that? Do you see it, affecting the lives of, citizens of Nigeria?
Of course, yes. Of course, yes, because the reason why the NNPC has suddenly woken up is because there's a competition in the market now. The market is fully liberalized, so there is a competition. So an NNPC has been quasi-privatized. So the people that are running, the managers of NNPC, have to brace up and also play in the free market economy or the liberalized market in the downstream sector of the oil and gas. So what we are seeing today is the benefits of having other alternative sources of the products being produced in the country and not just being imported. So it has made the NNPC to wake up. And I think it is a very, very welcome development that the NNPC has woken up. And at the moment, they are even selling slightly below the pump price compared to MRS and other independent marketers based on the products that are lifted from the Dangote Refinery. So when your NNPC starts producing, we'll begin to have options on where to purchase from, because the pricing will not be the same. The pricing template will not be the same. The product belongs to the NNPC. They own the crude oil, and they sell the crude oil to those other producers who will also factor in their margins and also look at their cost of production, which goes back into the market for the consumers and users like us. So the NNPC will do everything possible to make sure that their own pricing is slightly below the other sellers of the product. So it is a good development. We are walking into the new year on a high note, and kudos for the first time to this administration for what they are doing. I think there are better times ahead going into 2025 with regards to our energy costs. But the real big animal or big elephant in the room is the power sector.
All right, Mr. Brown. Now we agree that this is no doubt, good news. But what do you think that, what can this administration or what is this administration doing differently, to revive these moribund refineries that past administrations could not do?
Okay. For the records, this administration has not done anything extraordinary. The contracts for the rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt Refinery and the Warri Refinery was not awarded by this administration. These contracts were awarded by the previous administration. So I suppose that what this administration only did was to, give matching orders to Melekari, the group managing director of NNPCL, instructing him on what is expected, what are his deliverables. Because it appears that in the past, he had no KPIs, he had no deliverables, he was not held responsible for anything, and that was why he kept on giving dates and shifting dates and giving dates and shifting dates. But with this, now, I think we will now start looking at the Kaduna Refinery, if that will ever be able to work, because the pipelines that are supplying crude oil from the Delta, the Western Delta, which is in Delta State, down to Kaduna, has been ruptured in too many places. So I don't think there will be a feedstock going into that refinery at the moment. So there is nothing extraordinary that this government has done. The government has just simply told the group managing director of NNPC that look at your KPIs, you should be able to start producing, or we'll show you the way out. And I think that is good for competition.
Okay. Now, thank you so much, Mr. George Brown, for joining us and speaking to us on this.
Thank you.
Moving away from that, in response to the devastating floods that have affected several parts of Borno State, the state government is set to roll out a new disaster response framework. Now, this comes as the Flood Disaster Relief Disbursement Committee, which was tasked with assessing the flood's impact, providing aid and also financial support to victims, submitted its report to the governor of Borno State. News Central's Umar Kirawa now reports.
Memory of September 10, 2024, that left communities submerged, millions displaced, and others paid the supreme price. The Borno State government had inaugurated an interagency flood relief disbursement committee saddled with the responsibility of assessing damage and providing relief to victims.
The donation we received in cash total 28,224,364,263 naira 34 kobo. This includes the 10 billion donated by the Borno State government. The committee distributed the amount as follows: 18,084,700,000 in cash to the 101,330 households, including food and non-food items.
The Flood Relief Disbursement Committee recommended the need for street naming, numbering, and the establishment of a disaster response structure as part of efforts to address the growing challenges of urbanization and disaster management in the state.
We shall also prioritize technology integration into the system. Your recommendation for street naming and numbering in Maiduguri and its environments is very important. That says you have to direct the relevant MDs to submit their requirements, and we will ask the beneficiaries. Anybody who has not received such amount should has the right, she or he has the right to complain that his name was tested on the notice, but he has not benefited from this scheme for purpose of accountability and transparency.
The Borno state government appreciated United Nations agencies, including UNHCR, WFP, FAO, among other partners and individuals, as well as state and the federal government, for their support. The urban renewal strategy is expected to bring a systematic approach to urban planning, providing clearer navigation and facilitating more efficient disaster response. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Coming up, patients in Mauritania struggle amid mental health care shortages. We'll have details after the break. Join us again. Welcome back. Now, dozens of members of civil society and political parties in Guinea have demanded the immediate release of an opposition leader arrested for allegedly insulting the head of the military government. The detention of Aliyu Ba, who heads the Liberal Democratic Movement, is the latest in a crackdown of freedoms by the junta of General Mamadi Doumbouya, who overthrew civilian President Alpha Condé in a 2021 coup. After being remanded in custody in the capital Conakry on Monday, Ba vowed to carry on his campaign. Ba was arrested on Thursday as he was traveling to neighboring Sierra Leone with two colleagues. Mauritania's only psychiatric hospital has highlighted the country's severe mental health challenges with just 20 beds available for a population of 5 million. Graffiti reading "Stress Kills Your Neurons" marks the wall above 22-year-old CD's bed in room 13 of the Nouakchott Center for Specialized Medicine, where he was admitted 3 days ago with psychosis. CD's father, Mohamed Lamine, linked his son's mental health struggles to a failed attempt to emigrate to the U.S. and subsequent drug use. With resources stretched, most patients, including CD, are discharged after a few days. Dr. Mohamed Lamine Abeidi, a psychiatrist at the facility, has called for urgent expansion, citing the long distances patients travel for care and the lack of alternative psychiatric infrastructure. As we wrap up this tumultuous year, let's take a deep dive into how South Africans have navigated through political upheavals, economic hardships, and also social struggles. News Central's Bongani Siziba has more.
A significant turning point in South Africa's political landscape after the May elections. The African National Congress, ANC, shared power for the first time with other political parties, reflecting diverse aspirations of South Africans. Yet, this shift did not come without its challenges. As the economy faced unprecedented challenges, the cost of living soared, the price of essential goods items skyrocketed, leaving many families grappling with food insecurity. For millions, the struggle for daily sustenance became an all-too-consuming reality.
Yeah, it's really a roller coaster. I don't want to lie. It takes us to it forces us to adjust, to adjust into the new situations, because now the prices are higher, the money is coming in less.
Systemic issues persisted as South Africa continued to confront social ills, particularly gender-based violence, despite concerned efforts from civil society and government to combat this epidemic. Many women still face danger in their own homes and communities. Crime rate, particularly gun violence, remained a pressing concern. The epidemic of killings cast a shadow over communities, causing fear and instability. South Africa still has a long road ahead to ensure safety for all its citizens.
Crime is everywhere, especially in Orange Farm, in the informal settlements. Yeah, we're struggling with crime.
But it wasn't all doom and gloom. South Africa proved once again that it has the potential to be an economic powerhouse on the global stage. As the country takes over the G20 presidents, this will be yet another opportunity to fostering international relationships and attracting more investment. One of the most notable achievements this year was the resolution of a crippling power crisis that plagued the nation throughout 2023. Investments in renewable energy and strategic partners paved the way for a more stable energy future, brightening the prospects of economic recovery. However, not many are impressed about this.
I don't think they relaxed because electricity got expensive, especially for those of us who use prepaid. And the area I live in, we still have load shedding. They said there was no load shedding, but we still had load shedding, and it was very annoying, yeah.
As a visual arts director, I use electricity. So in our department, if I could so say, we were inconvenienced a lot, a heaven of a lot. We had to come with ways to keep our equipment charged,
Amidst adversity, South Africans have shown their resilience. Communities rallied together, supporting one another in times of need, showcasing a spirit of unity and hope that remains unbroken. As South Africans reflect on 2024, it is evident that the country stands at a crossroads. The challenges are immense, but so too are the opportunities. But with collective strength, determination, South Africans continue to fight for a brighter future. In Johannesburg, for News Central, I am Bongani Sizeba.
We were inconvenienced a lot.
And now it's business news. All right, just before the news, Taiwo Oyedele, chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, has stated that over 90% of workers in both public and private sectors would benefit from reduced taxes under Nigeria's proposed tax reforms. In October 2024, President Bola Tinubu submitted 4 tax reform bills to the National Assembly to modernize the country's tax system. Now, these bills aim to consolidate tax laws, streamline administration, and boost revenue. According to Oyedele, individuals earning up to 1.7 million naira monthly will see lower payee taxes, while minimum wage earners will be exempted. High-income earners, however, will pay slightly more, with a maximum rate of 25% for ultra-high net worth individuals. The news continues after the break. Now in the world of sports, the Nigeria Premier Football League board has announced a 3-week mid-season break following the conclusion of the first round of matches. The break will include a transfer window from January 6 to February 5, 2025. The league is set to resume on January 25, 2025 with the second round of matches. Remo Stars currently top the standings with 36 points, closely followed by Rivers United in second place. Now, during the break, NPFL clubs have allowed their players to take time off and spend the holiday season with their families before the competition resumes in late January. Wolves forward Matthias Cunha has been banned for 2 games by the Football Association following his clash with Ipswich Security earlier this month. The Brazil striker was charged with misconduct after he elbowed a member of the Ipswich staff before snatching his glasses off his face. Cunha, who has also been fined £80,000, will miss Wolves' Premier League game with Nottingham Forest and the FA Cup third-round trip to Bristol City. The altercation came after the 2-1 defeat by Ipswich at Molineux, with Jack Taylor scoring an injury time winner for the visitors. The defeat cost manager Gary O'Neill and his backroom staff their jobs, and they were replaced by Vitor Pereira and his coaches. Still talking sports, Wayne Rooney is out as head coach of Plymouth after a disappointing run in the championship. The former England captain, who joined the club in May, managed just 4 wins in 23 games, leaving the Pilgrims at the bottom of the table. Sunday's 2-0 loss to Oxford United, extending a 9-game winless streak, proved to be a final straw. Once hailed as the ideal choice for attacking football, Rooney faced mounting criticism after the team struggled with the league's lowest scoring record and highest goals conceded. This marks Rooney's second short-lived coaching stint following the exit from Birmingham City earlier this year. For Plymouth, the search for a new manager begins as they fight to climb out of relegation trouble. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, here's another look at some of our top stories. We told you that some countries have bidded goodbye to 2024 with variety of celebrations, while others are getting ready to cross over to 2025. We also told you that Australia has warned citizens to reconsider travel to Nigeria. Finally, you heard that Guinea junta faces calls to free opposition leader. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan. We'll see you.